Now at 11, prosecutors in the Delphi murders case go back to the beginning. What we learned today about their first interview with Richard Allen. Plus, a man accused of groping several people at an Indianapolis haunted house. Tonight, how this attraction takes steps to keep everyone inside safe.
2 rain chances over the next 7 days. One is tomorrow. I'll have the local timeline.
3 candidates vying to become Indiana's 52nd governor face off tonight in their final debate before Election Day. We've got their final arguments as they try to sway voters' decisions. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News. Thanks for inviting us in. It's now 11 o'clock, and we want to begin tonight with the Delphi murders trial. Today, we learned about the first time investigators interviewed Richard Allen and how they revisited him as a suspect years after the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. Emily Longnecker was in the courtroom for day 6.
Up until now, we've heard testimony about the crime scene, how Abby and Libby died, and what witnesses say they saw on the trail that day that the girls disappeared. Today, on day 6, was the first day that Richard Allen took center stage as the state continues to try and convince this jury that he is responsible for these murders. Jurors heard from 6 witnesses Thursday and learned how police pinpointed Richard Allen as a suspect more than 5 years after the murders. The jury learned Allen voluntarily called a tip line and was interviewed by a DNR officer 3 days after Abby and Libby's bodies were found. DNR officer Dan Doolin told the jury nothing in Allen's interview stuck out. Doolin testified Allen said he'd been on the trail that day from 1:30 to 3:30 and saw 3 girls walking there. Allen's file was marked cleared until 5 years later when a file clerk came across it again and remembered a tip about a man on the trail that day. Former Delphi Police Chief Steve Mullins explained how investigators found video of what they say is Allen's car near the trails on the day of the murders. The defense got Mullins to admit Allen told police he drove to the trail a different way that day than the route Mullins claimed Allen did. The jury also saw video Libby took on the bridge of Abby with bridge guy behind her that afternoon. Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett testified to what he heard after watching and listening to that video hundreds of times. Liggett says on the video you can hear Abby say, "Is he right there? Don't leave me up here." Then Libby talks about the path and one of them whispers, "That be a gun." Then Libby says, "No path here, go down this way." Right after that, Liggett says you hear the man from the video say, "Guys?" One of the girls replies, "Hi," and then the man says, "Down the hill." The jury also heard from lead investigator Indiana State Police Lieutenant Jerry Holman, who helped serve a search warrant in October 2022 on Allen's house, 2 hours after police interviewed Allen, letting him know he was a suspect. Holman says twice during the search of his home, Allen said, quote, "It doesn't matter, it's over." The jury also saw pictures of more than 25 knives and box cutters they took from Allen's home, along with several phones and pagers. They also saw the gun police believe Allen had that day. 13 News legal analyst Katie Jackson-Lindsay was in the courtroom Thursday to hear about what police took from Allen's home, saying it was likely impactful for the jury.
We know that they weren't murdered with a gun, but just that element of that fear that they would have faced if it's actually true that they were approached with that gun.
The jury also saw a picture of a wooden keepsake box where police say they found a bullet that's the same kind as the one found at the crime scene. The defense argued nothing connected to Abby or Libby was ever found at Allen's home. We don't know what is scheduled tomorrow, but we do expect at some point we are going to hear details of those 60-plus alleged confessions that Richard Allen made while he was in prison awaiting trial. In Delphi, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
Every weeknight at 10 o'clock, we're taking a closer look at this testimony. You can watch our Delphi debrief on our WTHR Plus streaming app. That show also airs at 9 in the morning. WTHR Plus, it's a free download. It's on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and Roku. Angela?
Scott, our Friday forecast includes a rain chance and a rumble of thunder possible. It is not going to rain all day, although we need the rain. High temperatures tomorrow in the low 70s. As expected, rain and storms lining up out to our west. We've had several severe thunderstorm warnings embedded in this line of rain and storms, and it's the line that moves our way. Unfortunately, it does start to weaken as it moves in. 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, best chance of a few showers and a few rumbles of thunder will be north. By midday, we expect radar to look like this. I'll continue the timeline in a few minutes.
All right, Angela, we'll see you in a little bit. An Indianapolis man was arrested for allegedly groping several people at a haunted house. Police tell us the man was drunk and described as going on a groping spree before getting arrested. Our Chase Howell talked with one of the people running the haunted house about its security measures.
Come to find out, it was one of the security guards at Hannah House who actually detained the man until police got there. And while organizers say this was a one-off, they've always had security protocols put in place to keep everyone safe. It wasn't the evil clowns or the zombies scaring some workers and patrons at Hannah Haunted House over the weekend. According to court documents, a man went around groping women's breasts, and one woman claims he even tried touching her son's private parts.
It's so sad that an individual can ruin a good time like that.
Allie Shepard helps run Hannah House. She says they have lead monsters on the trail, making sure everyone's hands stay to themselves.
If someone reaches out and touches someone, we do call security immediately. That's our protocol. And we see if it was just a reaction, someone got scared and accidentally touched someone, or if it's more serious in nature, and our security acts accordingly.
The security Shepard is talking about are actually trained professionals.
These are former officers, former medical personnel that we use for our security team. We vet everyone out.
Now let's say they have a feeling a group may be up to some ghoulish behavior. The people at the ticket booth give security a heads up.
We also have a code word if we think someone might cause trouble, and we'll have security follow that group through just to make sure everyone's safe and sound throughout.
And if organizers think someone's had too much to drink, they either won't let them in or they'll tell them to leave. Haunting at the Hannah House will be open Friday and Saturday, and then again on November 1st and 2nd from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. All the proceeds will go back to the house for future events. Reporting here in Indianapolis, Chase Howell, 13 News.
A Plainfield police officer has now resigned after chasing a suspect and crashing into an uninvolved car, killing 2 people. Barbara and Benny Williams died back in August after that crash along US 40. Avon police led the criminal investigation into this crash, discovering the officer was driving 100 miles per hour just seconds before impact. They determined the officer failed to drive with heightened risk awareness as he entered the intersection before the crash. That a decision 2024. Tonight was the final debate for the 3 candidates running for Indiana governor. Our Logan Gay caught up with them after it wrapped up and shares the key takeaways from that debate.
Thursday night, Democrat Jennifer McCormick, Libertarian Donald Rainwater, and Republican Mike Braun answered your questions about what they would do if given the opportunity to be Indiana's next governor. They covered topics including abortion access, legalizing marijuana, and affordable housing.
We're not going to fix it through government. We want to make sure that our own state gets out of the way, doesn't have regulations that are going to make it difficult, but entrepreneurs will figure that out.
One of the things that affects affordable housing is property taxes. And we need to do 2 things with property taxes. 1, we need to make sure that they never go up. 2, we need to make sure that they have an end date. And we need to go ahead and refocus on actually rehabbing areas so that there's affordable housing for young families.
But it goes back to our common sense property tax plan, but it also goes back to fair lending and making sure that we're protecting our renters and being a good partner with our local level leaders.
As for gun rights and regulations, this is what they had to say about any changes they might support.
I own a gun. I am very pro Second Amendment. No one's coming for anybody's guns. It's about responsible ownership and responsible use. It's also about making sure that we get the care that is needed when people are vulnerable and may need assistance in area of mental health.
Red flag laws have worked well here. They need to be actually improved, though, because that is the first step to keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill, or folks that are having trouble with some issue and they resort to a gun. Keeping guns out of the hands of criminals.
I oppose the red flag laws because we're that close to our government telling us that because we go to this church or we're a member of that organization that we have a mental defect and therefore they need to take our guns.
The debate ended with how they plan to serve all Hoosiers, including the ones who may not vote for them. But ultimately, only one of them will get the opportunity to prove it. In Indianapolis, Logan Gay, 13 News.
Mike Braun was the only candidate who did not stay after tonight's debate to answer questions from the media, but we were told he made that decision before tonight's debate started. Today, more than 1,300 students, faculty, and staff got the chance to vote early on the Purdue campus in West Lafayette. You probably remember the Tippecanoe County Election Board initially said no campus site met its requirements for a satellite voting location. But then advocates pushed back, so the board allowed 1 day of voting on campus. Voters waited in long lines today to cast ballots.
It's like you walk in and you think, well, either I'm going to wait in this line and miss class or I'm going to, leave. And so I don't like that. But I'm also thankful that so many students and faculty are taking advantage of this opportunity.
Purdue students who did not vote today can go to other polling locations around the county. We've got a list for you on WTHR.com. Lyle and Eric Menendez could be released from prison nearly 30 years after being convicted of murdering their parents. Tonight, why the Los Angeles District Attorney says he's recommending their life sentences be updated.
Rain chances return tomorrow. I'll have the local timeline and a look ahead to the weekend.
It's fearless.
A fearless 5-year-old is going to one of Taylor Swift's concerts here in Indianapolis. We'll tell you how this special dream came together. That's next.